In our discussion of the Haggadah, we got to the famous paragraph of Arba'a Banim, Keneged Arba'a Banim Dibra Torah, Had Hacham, Had Rasha, Hatam, Had Shenodeh Lish'ol. The Torah spoke in regards to four children. One is wise, one is wicked, one is naive or innocent, and one doesn't know how to ask a question. The commentators and the scholars have many arguments about this whole story. It's a collage, really, of when you take all the verses that are used in the Haggadah and you compare them with how the Haggadah sorted them out to the Arba'a Banim, they don't really fit. And besides that, we have some questions that seem similar. Hacham asks, the question of the wise son is Ma ha'idot v'chukim v'mishpatim asher tzivah Hashem Eloheinu etchem. What are the rules and the laws and the commandments that God commanded you? And the wicked one, according to Haggadah, says, Ma avodah zot lachem. What is this work for you? Why are you doing that? And then the Haggadah says, Lachem velo lo. It's like you and not like you exclude yourself. So we answered him harshly. But the wise son also has the same way. And there are hundreds of commentaries on the Haggadah. This one, and especially on this one of the more popular paragraphs. And like we mentioned last time, for the kids who read it around the table, it's always a problem because the one kid who gets to read the wicked son, is I always look at him as you're the one, Rasha. It's not very comfortable.
Let the girls read it.
Let the girl. No, the kid. I'm saying, a child could be a girl or a boy. With us, it was. Something with my sister who would read them. And I said, my grandfather used to give it as a package. You get Hacham and Rasha together. So there's a balance. So some people argue that originally there were three sons. Hacham, Tam, Shenodeh Lish'ol. And then the fourth one was added. That would fit the concept that we spoke about previously, that the editors of the Haggadah throughout the ages were trying to alienate themselves from the number 3, because it's a number that was associated with Christianity, with the Holy Trinity, and early Christianity was very interested in Pesach. I mean, even today they still celebrate Easter, which is called Pascha, but back in the day, not only they celebrated Pesach, they insisted, there was a sect among Christians that insisted on celebrating Pesach on the 14th of Nisan. So, they only did Easter or Pesach on the 14th of Nisan. So the Jews tried to dissociate themselves as much as possible from that. It's very possible that they even threw in this idea of the wicked son, not as someone who is within the fold of Judaism, but those who cross the line to Christianity. Because, and that's when we look at the text, not as it is written in the Torah, but rather as it's written in the Haggadah. Because when we look at the Torah, there are several instances where the Torah says, etc. What is the emphasis? What is the focus of the Torah? It's on education. This is really, we could say, one of the core elements and beliefs of the Jewish people is the importance of education. Education for all. I mean, in America, it became a big thing. What it is, 3 presidencies ago, no child left behind, right? We're talking about the 20th, 21st century. But in Judaism, already in the Torah, throughout the Torah, but later on, in about the 1st century of the Common Era, there was a man by Shimon ben Gamla, who was was connected with the Roman government, and the rabbis did not accept everything he did. But this says, Beram zachur oto ish letov. But one thing he did good, what did he do? He established a system of public education. Public schools that anyone who cannot teach his son, who cannot afford to hire a teacher, could bring his son to this learning group, and everybody learns together. So we already have this very strong emphasis on learning and on conveying the information to the next generation. And especially on Pesach, it's important because when the Torah says that you must teach your children, right? If they ask you a question, you have to come up with the answer. That means that you need to learn to be able to provide the answer. Otherwise, how are you going to come to the Seder night? That's why so many people have Seder anxiety, because they don't know how to lead it correctly. But I think more than that, they don't know if they can answer the kid's question. Finally, you invite them to ask questions. Right? There's this story about a father and child go together, and I'll say it. The child asked the father, "Can I answer your question?" He says, "Yeah, go ahead." He asked him a question about the sun rising in the east, setting in the west. He says, "I don't know why." And then they go walk a little more, and the son says, "Can I answer another question?" He says, "Yes." And he asks, and he says, I really don't know why. Another thing about a natural phenomenon, he doesn't know why. So then the kid says, "Dad," and you know what, forget it. The father said, "What's going on?" He says, "No, I had another question, but I don't want to bother you." And the father says, No, ask. If you don't ask, you never learn." So, the point is, we should encourage the kids to ask questions, but at least up to a certain point, we have to be able to provide some answers, some direction. So this is from the point of view of the Torah, this is the focus, to teach the next generation. The rabbis had other things in addition to that they had to take care of, and one of them was the stream of people that were abandoning Judaism because of Christianity. That was a major crisis for Judaism. On one hand, many people joined Judaism at the time because the Greeks and Romans did not have the concept of redemption. We take it today for granted that we always move towards a better future. There's hope, there's redemption, but this is an idea that was essential to Judaism. It's in the Torah. The Torah always speaks about Yetziat Mitzrayim, redemption, freedom, etc. So many Greeks and Romans, especially among the nobility, liked the idea and joined Judaism. And at a certain point, the historians say that at around the first century during and parallel to the destruction, they say that between 2 and 10% of the population of the known world, known to Western civilization, between 2 and 10% was Jewish. Think about when we compare today to what is our percentage. But then Christianity started with the push. What was the push of Christianity? It was Paul of Tarsus, Shaul at-Tarsi, who was originally a Jew, who saw that Christianity is not taking off. Christianity was about to die because nobody wanted to be a Christian. Why? In order to be a Christian, one had to be a Jew, had to be a naturally born Jew, keep all the mitzvot, and believe that Jesus was the Mashiach. So, it's not only you keep everything, you have to add another belief that not necessarily is part of your system. So people did not pick up on that. Paul was a good strategist, was a good marketer, right? And he said, okay, let me sell it to people. So he came up with this idea. He said, you know what? You don't have to keep any mitzvot anymore. He made two main changes. One, anyone can join our new religion. Second, you don't have to keep any mitzvah. All you have to do is believe that he was the Mashiach, the Redeemer, the Savior, and you're redeemed. That's easy. You get everything for nothing. You don't have to pay anything. Just believe. That's good. So people started abandoning Judaism or joining Christianity. The rabbis, I think, in that regard, speak about Rasha ma omer. This is wicked. Why? I'm not talking about religions today. I'm talking about the way that confrontation took place 2,000 years ago. What does he say? Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. And that's the difference between the wise son and the wicked son. Because Hacham ma omer, when you look at the wise son, he says, Ma ha'idot v'chukim v'mishpatim asher tzivah Hashem Eloheinu etchem. He says it in a way of learning. I want to learn what are the laws and the commandments and the regulations that our God, commanded you. So he's still part of the fold. He just said because it says Elokenu, our God, but God commanded you, meaning I look up to you, the elders, the older generation. I want to learn from you. The wicked son says, "Ma avodah zot lachem." Avodah is on one hand service, like avodat tefillah is service, but it's also a burden, work. He says, why are you enslaved? You got out of Egypt, right? You were slaves there. Why do you keep being slaves? Break free. That was the lure of Christianity. Break free. You don't have to do any mitzvot, and join us. So, so the answer to him is Ba'avu ze'asa Hashem li b'tzati mitzrayim. That's why Hashem redeemed me. Li velo lo. Ilu haya sham lo haya nig'al. So the idea is that what the rabbis were trying to tell people was this: yes, it's not easy. True, it's not easy to adhere to Torah and mitzvot, but by doing so, you keep yourself within the fold of Judaism, and it's not only about keeping the Torah and mitzvot. It raises one's spiritual level awareness. We spoke about it many times. When you look at the achievements of the Jewish people as a nation, despite persecutions, despite exiles, going from place to place, how were we able to keep achieving what we achieved? It was because we kept the values of Torah mitzvot. So this is the answer to what we call the Rasha. What we tell the Hacham is a very intriguing answer, and with that we conclude. And that is, when he asks you, what are the laws that God commanded you? You tell him, "Afata emor lo kilchot haPesach, en maftirin achar haPesach afikoman." So, first of all, there's another version in Yerushalmi. The Talmud Yerushalmi says, "Afata emor lo bechol zekiyad utzianu Adonai mimitzrayim mibet avadim." This is an answer, practical question. God took us out of Egypt, and that's why we do that. Another version is, "Afata petach lo bilchot haPesach." Make an opening, just give him one halacha that will lead him to other, and that's probably the version we have to stick to. But we say afata emorlo, tell him. But why of all the laws of Pesach, if a child asks you what are the laws that God commanded you, why would you start with the afikoman? It doesn't seem like the most important thing. Tell him we have to clean, we're not going to eat hametz, we're going to read the Haggadah, God took us out of Egypt. There are a million things to say. Why afikoman? And if we think about just like I said about the Rasha, there's a confrontation between cultures. Here's another cultural confrontation, and that is afikoman, like the word suggests. What is it? How do you say afikoman or afikomen? איך אתם אומרים? afikoman. Okay. You say afikomin. Yeah, some say afikomen. Right? It's what? Afikoman. So it's a Greek word. Afikomen is a Greek word. So it means dessert, right? The rabbi said in the Gemara, there's a debate. What is it? Some say it's dessert, but historians who studied the culture tell us that it's a very, very particular kind of dessert. It's not about what is the recipe, like what is the menu, what is put on the table, but rather how you eat this dessert. So there was a practice among Greeks at the time of when the Haggadah was put together, to invite people over for dessert only. Have you ever seen that? That people say, come over for coffee, come over for dessert, right? In Dil on Sukkot, for example, Syrians especially, right?
They said,
Al-Ghada. Okay. So I know I saw that on Sukkot in Dil, that because everybody wants to invite everyone to their sukkah, but you cannot do that. So they say come for dessert. So there's like a pilgrimage. Everybody, they move from sukkah to sukkah. It's beautiful. So the custom was you have a fancy meal, an opulent meal, and then you go visit other families to drink wine with them and to have desserts. Hachamim said, "En maftirin achar Pesach afikomen." On Pesach, you don't do that. You eat the roast, the Pesach, and you stay together as a family. Now, what is the importance of that? Torah says, community is important, but on Pesach, the focus is on the family. You have to teach your children; they have to be with you to appreciate and to respect the older generation, and to feel that commitment that when they grow up, they want to convey the same message to their children and grandchildren. This is the idea of continuity. So when you tell your son, when the wise son says, he says a very general question. He wants to have the totality of knowledge. Ma hukim, a'idot, v'hukim, mishpatim, the whole thing. You say, you know where it starts? It starts with the family. El maftirin hara pesach hafikum, and you don't break the circle. It's good to be connected to other people and go around in community, but the beginning is that you establish it within the family. If you wish, it goes all the way back to Avraham Avinu. Why was Avraham chosen? The Torah says, Ki da'ativ, למען אשר יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו ושמרו דרך אדוני לעשות צדקה ומשפט. למען אביא אדוני על אברהם את כל אשר דיבר עליו. So Hashem says, I chose Abraham because he is the type of person who will educate his children. Meaning, you could be the greatest tzaddik, the greatest righteous person. If there's no continuity or there's no connection between one and his children, if the children feel that, the father's world is not their world, or that they cannot communicate with him, then everything is lost. And if there is continuity, it will go on for generations. I think that is the message that the Haggadah has with the Hacham Baruch Adonai Le'olam Amen Ve'amen.